So your website is your 24/7 salesperson. If you haven't got one nowadays, you're kind of dead in the water, to be honest. But if it's confusing, ugly or slow, it's literally like having a rep who forgets their pitch, smells like burnt toast and takes naps on a job. We all know those people. If your website isn't getting traffic or converting leads, it's basically useless and a fancy digital business card floating in the abyss. People will log on, check out your website, and if you haven't grabbed them pretty quickly, they're off. They're out of there onto your competitors. So I'm here to help you fix that. I'm not just giving some rough guides or rough examples. I actually thought it was better to go roast some examples and really pull them apart. So I put a call out last week and you all sent me in your website. So I haven't got time to go through everyone that submitted theirs, but I picked the first few that came in. So no fluff, no sugarcoating, just kind of straight up breakdowns of really what is likely to be killing your conversions and, making people avoid your website. So I'm going to give you some tips on how to fix those from the examples. So let's get into it. Let's start with Senazon. I believe it's like a pipeline integrity, for oil and gas type stuff. So let's go to senazon.com. So a few things that I initially look for, before we even talk about design here, let's see how Google kind of sees you. So there's a couple of key things. One is domain authority, which is how powerful your kind of domain or website name is on the internet. Then there's organic keywords, which are search phrases. For example, here, introducing Find or interactive GIS tools. That kind of lump of words is a keyword. You may know that already, but just explain to those that don't. And then the third one is kind of linking domains, the amount of other websites that link to your website and how powerful they are. If they're a really reputable brand website, they can hold more weight and you don't need as many of those, or you can have lots more that point to you. Just basically tell Google that your website is a good website for authority and a lot of people trust it because they recommend it and point to your website, etc. So that can be easier for some sites than others. Like government websites tend to do well for this because a lot of sites point to those, so they naturally do well. So when I was looking before, you can look at moz.com, which is a good quick free tool for a few runs to see all these different kind of traits of your website. So domain authority for this one was pretty low. It was 25 out of 100. And when you look at another competitor I found similar to these, when you Google kind of pipeline integrity kind of software, aviva.com was another one I looked at, and that had a domain authority of 63. So the score is out of 100, so down at 25, you can see that's not great. 63 is kind of, seemed like a common. 65 to 75 was kind of the highest I was seeing. 100's really high. You wouldn't expect something in this kind of world to be up there. And then the next one is organic keyword kind of ranking. There's 79 keywords, right, which might seem, oh great, but this isn't out of 100 anymore. This should be really in the thousands for a really popular kind of good website. Aviva, for example, keeping consistency with that comparison, had 11.5 thousand keywords that they were ranking for. We can kind of look at some of these things here. If I go to Google itself, here it is. So if we go to this and type in, let's go on pipeline integrity. Now, this isn't exactly what the site is selling, its software, but if you go to pipeline integrity, kind of see that it doesn't show up on number one. You've got CNRL, which is a big company you would expect. They've got a big following, but there's no mention of Senaz on there at all. So interesting. So if we can go to pipe, these are some things that were actually on their website. So if you scroll down to here, we've got pipeline integrity and then measurement, whatever the hell that means. Another one that was on their site later on was pipeline integrity risk manager, which I searched for before. So if we go down here, Senazon is actually very high, which is great. Kind of pops up there. I don't know how much people are searching for that stuff. But page one is good. It wasn't clear what Find Plus was, so we've got GIS, so I don't know what this is. So if we go on Solutions for now and Find Plus, so this heading is, should tell me what it is really. So I'm going to search for, it seems, it's a legitimate thing to search for, GIS pipeline tool. ArcGIS, Esri, they're big ones, they're hard to compete with. So Senazon's there. It's on the first page, which is great. Hydroflow was another one of their apps, which is basically, I think it's to do with pipelines near watercourses or crossing them. So if we go to pipeline water crossings, So TC Energy on there, Transnorthern, Government of Alberta, BC Energy. So this is hard to rank against. TC Energy is a big one, and then government stuff. So this is hard. So, I mean, to me, if they're trying to sell like an app, maybe that is what we search for. There we go. It's there at the top, which is great. PDF. Nice. So for organic keywords, even though it's not ranking for that many, for some of these keyword searches that I'm trying, it's coming up pretty well, which is good. The one thing that I saw as well was wildfire notification app. Let's see if that's on there. So Apple's hard one, Government Alberta, Apple, Google Play. So you're going to get this with a lot of app results, but no mention of Senazon yet, which I believe is one of their products. Okay. Search pipeline. Doesn't really matter which order you search things in. There we go. It's at the top. So Senazon are doing pretty well for keyword actual ranking for searches, which is nice to see. More backlinks wouldn't go amiss. You've really got a low domain authority compared, so you could really be doing better on that. So if there becomes a competitor that's ranking for the same keywords, if you are a lower domain authority, it will, and theirs is higher, then it'll rank theirs higher. That's a little bit on the back end side of things with the kind of health and domain of things. I think let's go back to the main page. So, I mean, scrolling down, we'll get onto design in a little sec. Talking language a little bit more now. The opening statement, there isn't much to go off as a fresh viewer to the site. It's, market-leading pipeline software solutions. It's a little bit generic. It doesn't really tell me a lot about specifically what they're helping me solve as a customer. Critical data, pipeline incident rates. That's nice. Reduce pipeline incident rates and streamline monitoring and compliance. That's nice. That's on the third page, though. By the time that gets up there, I've moved on. Like introducing Fine Plus, like fine, but unless I know what Fine Plus is, I'm not really going to care too much about that. You've got sign up for free. What am I signing up for? What is it? Is it a GIS tool? Is it ArcGIS? Is it something I have to manually do? Or what is it doing for me? When we get down to here, the product section, like we've got a measurement product, that's measurement software, puts your data, it's fine. It just doesn't get me too excited. And the product section here, just opening things up. I find this statement is so throwaway that it doesn't actually need to be there. Like full site of robust, trusted, intuitive pipeline software solutions. It's just a lot of words. Like you've got all this stuff here and designed to empower your teams and accelerate growth. Like it just sounds a bit cheesy. And so like, it's better to write more, result type stuff. So like telling people what they get. So products, it might be better to say, it tracks compliance in real time, reduces audit risks, avoid costly fines. Like it's a bit more tangible to a pain point, and it's even better to go to like a detailed piece. I don't mean detailed in length. I mean, it's specific to a person's pain point. Generic statements empower your teams and accelerate your growth. Like, what does growth mean? It's different for every person. How do you know it's growth? It just sets off, the kind of bullshit radar. People are like, I don't know, it's promising the world. And it's not specific enough to actually talk to me as an individual. We want to show data or proof. Like, if you really are this exceptional, you should be saving clients money through this process. In regulatory fines, it might be that, you state something like this product saved this client 2.4 million in regulatory fines last year, throughout managing X on their Y operation, for example. We saved X company's pipeline through them tracking forest fires through our app. What we're wanting to do in the website is we've got them there probably through some half-decent SEO, search engine stuff. But when we get them here, we want to try and convert them to the thing that's going to get them into the sales bucket funnel as best as possible and make them as warm and as ready to convert as possible. But if you've got this all over the place kind of thing where you're just promising wishy-washy stuff, we definitely really want to get more specific. And the problem is a lot of websites, especially in this kind of tech kind of software space, they think they can do everything, and they probably can, but the customer coming to the site, you really want to hone in on who that person is. A higher number of specific example statements are better than generic statements, trying to summarize everything you do in one statement, which is this kind of statement. So it's early on, and the thing is, the top of the website is very important. Even here, like, it's very much me. It's about our flagship product, software, it's critical data, Senazon delivers on every front. There's no emotional hook though. There's nothing pulling me in. It's like market leading pipeline software solutions. It's like everyone says that sort of stuff. It's not pulling me out. You know, why should I care? And what outcomes will there be? It needs to be more customer centric on what outcomes I will get from this. As you scroll down the page, I'm already getting pretty bored. So we'll get onto the design comments now. This looks a bit dated. And I know you're updating the website, but to me, it feels a little bit old-fashioned. You know, we've got this kind of corporate slide deck type thing. You know, a little bit generic with the photographs that are taken. You know, this is like a 3D generated image. At the top here, when I was going through this stuff, I just got so overwhelmed with where I was supposed to be going. Like, you've got the solutions pages, so many solutions. And granted, companies will have vast solutions, but the about section, our company, and if we go on this page, like, when I get there, it's not worth it. And you can tell this stuff here, it just feels written by AI. If you see these dashes, it looks relatively generic as a text format to me. You know, it's neat. It works pretty well. Like, you can get through operationally. It's fine. It works great. It's fast. It's not complex to me, but navigating it wise in terms of options to me, when you're trying to convert a customer, you want it to make it as simple as possible and you want to point them to that place. So if we're going here on this kind of stuff, you know, the opening kind of call to action is sign up for free. But to me, this is a tool, but the word sign up for free to me sounds like a newsletter. It sounds like I'm going to get spammed. It sounds like something that's not useful to me. It's 100% free. There's no value in it. Like, I know you're trying to coax people into it, but it doesn't really make me want to click on it. It feels a little bit generic and confusing to the person. You know, it's the wrong language. You know, we want to make it to say, this is an app which will give you this. And that's so much more powerful than, you know, or you want this kind of results, this app can give you this. Like, you have to flip it in a way that you're talking to the person like you're trying to sell it to them almost at this point. When we get down to here, request a demo, it's like a demo of what? And then I get to the contact page through that click. So I think it'd be much more powerful if you had a video explaining what a demo was. So you didn't have to get that person. Then you've actually got a warm lead coming through your conversion process through your website. Makes it a lot more interesting than request a demo. The more you ask people to click on stuff to other things, the less likely they're going to actually come and do stuff and stay on the site for you. And then all the way at the bottom here, we've got a kind of a mix of case studies and social proof. So social proof is like, you know, equivalent of your friend telling you to go buy this like food processor or something like that. It's recommended by people, and so we can use that here. And it's good that this is here. However, it's very generic, and I know it can be tricky with oil and gas or people that are a bit more cagey on giving their name, but it's like client. It's not specific to who. Like, it's good that you've got this, but people will naturally subconsciously think that you're kind of making it up, because people do online. So, you know, when you get to the quote bubbles, you kind of lost interest. And to me, some of this phrasing and just social proof should be more at the top, kind of demonstrating results for people. Make it so it's a no-brainer for them to click, because they feel so compelled that everyone else is using this product, everyone on my competitors is using it. If I don't use it, then I'm really going to lose out here. But the problem is it's right at the bottom here. So there's a lot on the opening page. Like, we can keep going. There's like the blog at the bottom and case studies. Like, it just feels like you're using the real estate up here, like, for the wrong stuff. Like, it just feels like you're using generic statements. Read more about the software solutions. Like, people are only going to look for the solution if they feel compelled that they need to solve the problem. So you need to get them there. And then right at the bottom here, in the weird kind of footer layout, you've got a newsletter sign up right at the bottom. But to me, like, people hate newsletters nowadays in terms of like not knowing what they're going to get. You have to tell them, and you just catch your name than just newsletter. Like, it's like Pipeline Integrity 101, or, you know, it needs a bit more of a catchy title and needs to be a bit more pulling people in, but also tell them what they're going to get. You know, you need to make sure that you've got this. There's no link to a privacy policy as well. There's privacy policy down here, but you really should have it on your newsletter sign up. That's something to watch out for, the recent laws, especially in Canada, that came in. All this stuff here, it's just so much stuff. If I get down to videos, like, it's still not giving me a video. I'm having to click a lot of stuff. This would be better as a gallery that just kind of loaded and off you went, and people could click on and it had hovering to know, you know, a thumbnail that told me what it was. It'd be so much better. So not to dig into loads of the stuff, this is a big website, lots of pages, which is good. It helps with SEO, but to me, there's a lot of options for people here, lots of different things. There's no mention of half of these things, like you've got Hydroflow, Wildfire. It's not clear, like this company's trying to do so much stuff at once. You've got all your social links at the top, all seems to work fine. Twitter is X now, so that's slightly outdated. Client login, it's not clear what I would need to do for that login. You know, if I click here, please select your product below. You have to be a client already, but there's no explanation of what that should be and how I get access to that. Do I need to call someone? Kind of stock footage type stuff, stock imagery, sorry, a little bit bland. Colors are okay, like blue and orange goes pretty well together. That's kind of a complementary color set. But yeah, resources, case studies, let's just have a quick look here. See, lots of options again. Smarter approach to effectively decommissioning your assets. Like, it's just a lot of word jargon that doesn't probably do so well for SEO. Like and even then you've got weird things popping up like content is password protected. That's weird. So there's a few things to look at here. You've got no expert because it's a protected post. Maybe there's a reason for that, but it's not explained. The more frustrated someone gets using a website, I've only just clicked on a few things, the more likely they're going to be like, I don't know, like, I don't know what this is telling me. I don't know how to get what I need out of it. You know, if you've sent someone there and they're trying to navigate it, or have Googled any of those keywords that you're ranking for, it doesn't matter how much you're ranking for keywords. If you get there and they aren't able to figure out what they need to do, you need to make it so you're funneling them in the way you want them to be, so they sign up to what you need them to sign up to, or make a call, or whatever it might be. If I request a demo, how much money and time will you save? A demo with a game-changing software. Look, words like game-changing. What is the game that we're changing? Like, it's very generic kind of corporate bullshit words that you're coming out with here. So, yeah, it's okay. Looks nice, a little bit dated. Just a bit of a confusing website to navigate in terms of what you're actually trying to get me to do. You know, try and go after a particular, you know, demographic or cohort of people and really design it for them, and then you'll make that work. The next website is Revolution Drill Bits. So if we go to revdrillbits.com, so sent to us through LinkedIn. Okay, so I had a look at the search engine stuff in Google and domain health before I started this video. So this one's slightly worse than Senazon. You know, it's not great, actually. The domain authority is 10 out of 100, really low. You know, for comparison, a major competitor, which is Baker Hughes, I went for, which they're a big company, you know, but they come out at 75. But the problem is this company is competing with those companies. And so if they start to try and rank for the same keywords you are doing, which has probably been relatively simple till now, they're going to beat you hands down. Organic's keyword rating is quite low, 12. Baker Hughes was in the tens of thousands, you know, it's similar to the Senazon example. I did have a quick look at a few things to see how they ranked. So let's go on directional drill bits. So if we do this, see how we rank on some of these things. So Halliburton, heard of them. You know, but yeah, a couple of things. You've got Baker Hughes there popping up. So page 2, you're not really there. Even if we search like directional PDC bits, which is diamond cutter, some kind of diamond cutter phrase, I think. Search for that. See what we come up with here. Altera, they're probably, you know, a company that's your competitor as well. Precise drilling components, drill formants, Baker Hughes, Rockpecker, still nowhere to be seen. Halliburton, all this sort of stuff here, nothing at all. I saw this, which stood out to me. The #1 leading drill bit manufacturer in Texas. Let's search, for example, #1 drill bits, Texas. So if we go down, Texas hunting, Altera, Baker Halls, Torex, Gemco, Amazon, Ackman Drilling. Still no results for you, and you're apparently the #1. So let's see if we can switch it to PDC bits. So this is a search that someone would do. Like, you've written, I think, in Texas. So unless someone's searching bit manufacturing Texas, I wonder what that comes up as. Go to PDC bits. Still not there. So if we go to, let's search for this. No one's going to search for leading drill bit manufacturer. No one's going to use that language. PDC bit. See if that comes up. Right, we've finally popped up. So you're there as manufacturer. I'm not convinced people are going to search for manufacturer. One thing that we might want to search, because Texas is quite focused, like, you know, that's where a lot of drilling probably happens, I imagine. Drill bits for American, let's just say US oil and gas. Let's see if we pop up here. Not page one. Let's try just oil. Baker Hughes at the top. So if your competitor's ranking, there's a reason they're ranking for that search term. It's because it's worth it. So you need to try and do this a bit more. Still nothing there. Texas. So you're there again. If we put Texas in, you're not doing so bad. The real pain story here is linking domains. There were three. You need so many more than that. So many more. Let's see if you've got any kind of content. Our leadership, product specs. There's no drop down, so I'm assuming that's the pages. So there's clearly no content, you know, in terms of like SEO content, case studies, drilling. I've not seen anything there. As we scroll down a bit, there's nothing on case studies, nothing demonstrating anything. You know, there's nothing about breakdowns or drill technique or comparisons on drill bit performance. You know, you're telling a lot of stuff here. We want to make sure we're showing, you know, prove it with case studies, test data in a video, kind of showing it in action, or at least someone talking about it or a client talking about it, etc. It doesn't have to be video, but, you know, that is the best form. But, you know, backlinks, if you're not familiar with what they are, that's obviously people linking to from their website to yours. We want to try and get featured in oil and gas blogs, industry journals, you know, drilling forums, as recommended products or just even content around that. In terms of language, you're selling massive industrial drill bits. However, I don't get that feeling that you're excited about it from the language. It's kind of generic throwaway, you know, revolutionary design tactics. I get using revolutionary, you know, it's in the name. Maybe that's for search engine that someone told you, but that stuff, you know, people are going to find your website. If they search revolution drill bits, they find it. It's number one. You don't have to worry about that. It's there in your site information. So, but, you know, rapid development of drill bit design, like how rapid is that? It's a little bit generic, not giving me much information in specific stuff, like how long is it going to take. It just sounds like you're not going to deliver. It feels like it's written by a committee of engineers that have agreed to make it match all sorts of things and all sorts of situations. You know, it's not exciting enough. And if you're not getting fired up about your product, then why would anyone else? There's a picture here that looks like it was shot 25 years ago. We'll come on to design in a little sec. You know, but the one thing that really gets me, right, is that you've got number one leading drill bit manufacturer in Texas. Where's the proof? You've got no statements from any clients, no stats, no comparisons, no customer quotes, no one supporting that fact. You're just stating that you are, and I don't believe it. Revolution caters to each customer with customized drill designs is weird English, drilling plans, hydraulics, pre and post well analysis, providing customer service quickly and rapid turnaround of new drill bit. God, I'm exhausted. It's just boring, and it's just like so generic that I'm just like, okay, great, like everyone does that. But you have to be more outcome specific. Like, think about, you know, if it's going to save time, is it going to save money? Like faster cuts, longer lifespan, are these things going to last longer? Am I going to have to buy them or, you know, change them out more regularly than other ones? Is it tougher than anything else in the market? You know, breakthrough rock, not break through your budget, you know, oil field proven, driller approved. You know, bold statements need these kind of variables quantifying, you know, but where is the examples? You've got 100% satisfaction guarantee. That is interesting. But you've put it there as a little bullet point. But what does that mean? Does that mean I can give you back the drill bit if I'm not happy with it? What are the parameters there? What does that mean? You know, environmental sensitivity, like, what does that mean when you drill bits? It doesn't give me any information as to how it relates to the end customer. It's just kind of like, Oh yeah, I think that. We'll put that on the website. That's important, you know. We need to make sure that there's an emotional hook to this. Like, you might think technology and industry, we don't want to get emotional about this thing, but you really want to talk to your person that's selecting this product or trying to find it. You want to make sure that you're actually setting this up so people will care and actually think this product is going to solve my problem. Is it, you know, a certain demographic of person that's a drilling manager who's trying to plan some kind of drill and they've had some disappointing performance on their other one, and they're trying to find the solution for the product? You know more than I do what that looks like, but none of this tells me that you're speaking to me. Beyond technology, beyond experience, our value is created by the virtues and actions of our people. Through the products are widely known for their ingenuity and consistency is our people. Like, everyone has good people. I've got past this point where you're asking me to contact you. Great. A number one leading drill bit, I don't believe you. There's information here. You know, you're lucky if I've got this far and you've lost me. You lost me here, you know, location. I already know you're there. I can tell because you're already the number one drill bit manufacturer in Texas. You don't need to tell people who you are. If they really want to know that information, they will find you, and it's already here at the top of the page. Just be careful that you're not wasting the real estate on your website. You know, what about testimonials from real operators? You know, show a case study of Rev drill bits, you know, saving a company millions of dollars and save them time. Or, you know, sustainability here, was it something to do with reducing the amount of fuel used that might lead to lower emissions and stuff like that? You know, give me a side-by-side test video. Make me compelled to do something and take action. At the moment, it's just like you're hoping that someone knows everything about you and your back history and what you've done. And at this point, I have no idea. So design comments, just a few to kind of close things off here. You know, this is too safe. It's too corporate. You know, it lacks grit and edge. You know, it's quite a dirty, kind of aggressive kind of industry. You know, I expect it to be quite cool. You look at other websites and they're, you know, really going for it. And I had a look around a few competitors. They've got more interesting stuff going on. You're talking to corporate like you're trying to talk to investors. You're really not. You're trying to get someone excited about using a bit so they look cool. You know, make sure that we're selling this stuff. It's high-powered drill bits, you know, extreme environments. You know, the color scheme and layout look a bit like an accounting firm to me. It's not really screaming, you know, cool and interesting and something I'd be proud to stick there. The logo's okay, but it's a little bit like generic. It's just some words. Make it interesting. Could it not be a drill bit or something more proud for Texas? Or I don't know, have some more ideas there. One thing on the design, this white halo around text just looks god-awful. Really dates the website. Looks old-fashioned to me. The red on white is okay, but some people can't see that as well. It might pop for you, but at least it's a slightly muted red. It seems to have some blue and red going on here, but there's only blue and black in the logo, so the red to me doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It's just a little bit more complementary, I guess. But the red on the blue is not particularly great on the eyes. I like that it flashes white when you go over it, but, you know, make an appointment. What does that mean? Appointment for what am I going to get out of that appointment? So the cover image, it looks, you know, computer generated to me from some kind of model or video. I don't know where that's come from, but it's not that exciting. This looks like you're renting drill rigs, nothing to do with drill bits. Join the revolution. Like, that's a nice tagline, but like, it doesn't tell me anything about what you're doing, what you're providing, what your product is. When we get down to here, the shot of your location, like, you don't always want to try and pretend to be bigger than you are, but when I looked at other parts of you online, you had 19,000 square feet of industrial space. Like, a photo of it inside your facility would have been much more impressive there. The outside one looks like it's a small bistro or cafe. In terms of size, it just looks like it's a tiny family-run business, which isn't end of the world, but you're kind of pitching yourself in a different way that makes you look like a bigger deal than you actually are. But maybe you are. It's just the website that makes it look that way. No videos. I find with drill bits, it's such a motion-driven kind of thing that you can get people excited to use your bits through, you know, there's plenty of ways of doing 3D models in this space. The homepage just in general doesn't excite me. It's not really making me excited to use it. There's no drill footage, there's no story. You know, the drill bit specs, you know, are not really easy to find. If we get onto the, I think there was a page about product specs here. Okay, a little bit slow to load there because I've got a fast connection, so that should have been quicker. I'm sure this means a lot to people that actually work in this world. But Bad Series, I mean, that's a terrible name. Like, Bad Series, sounds like it's a bad drill bit. Long Series, coming soon. You've not even got information on there that's complete. Like, this looks like it's been a website around for a while. get your bit today, that isn't true. That's contact. You know, that's telling you to contact me. Get your bit means that I can order it online, and you can't. So just be careful. You know, on this page, there really should be customer success stories. You've got some information about the leadership. You know, there's no consistency in brand. The images look like they were taken in completely different locations. You know, this is quite a friendly photograph. This one looks a little bit like the guy didn't want to be having a photograph taken of him. Just needs to look natural and consistent. The red looks a bit intimidating as a color around it all. You've now got the red around the blue writing. To me, that doesn't make much sense if you've got the white up here, and it just feels a bit odd. Like, give us a call. I can barely even read that till it gets down there. On this page, when I first loaded up, it had a pop-up that came up asking me to sign up to a newsletter. Pop-ups are really annoying and a bit dated now. The conversion rate with the pop-up is very low, you'll find, compared to just having it on the page and giving someone a reason to join. But again, it didn't tell me what was going to be in the newsletter, so I'm always wary, and I'm sure lots of other people are, of newsletters that don't actually say what they're going to give you, and I'm just going to avoid it because you get so much email nowadays. It needs to really suck you in and really make sure that you're going to get something of complete value. You know, what's the frequency? What am I going to send you? What's the topic? It needs a catchy name. Someone to send us on. That wasn't really so good there as well. So how to fix it? I think it needs a bit of an overhaul, personally. I think it's a bit dated. You know, it needs video content for this to make it look exciting, something motion in it. You know, seriously get some slow motion action shots of things cutting through different rock formations. Even this guy making stuff, just video him doing it just on your phone and stick that on there. That would be more engaging to watch him doing it, rather than, you feel excited and part of the story, you know, rather than just like looking at it and going, okay, he's attaching something to there. Great. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what his story, what's his applying there. You know, get a bit of a dialogue around there as well. Social proof isn't there, like, at all, not on any part of the website to say what clients have experienced, and testimonials, you know, Zenazon as a comparison had some of that stuff there just in the wrong place, whereas this has nothing at all on that information. You know, it's full of like generic kind of bullshit copy, a bit generic, talking about customer service and quick, rapid turnaround. Like, have they got them in stock? You've got to be careful you're not letting people down there when they call you up and then they go, oh, you said there'd be a rapid turnaround, but I don't know how long that is. Is that 2 weeks? Is it 4 weeks? Is it 6 months? What's quick for this industry? Try and break down those barriers that people have as a resistance to make sure that they're calling you about stuff. Make it edgy, confident, you know, be a bit on the edge of stuff. Like, try and make it a bit more out there and a bit more confident and cocky. You know, make sure it speaks to the drilling professionals. A lot of this is like you're talking to a bank. And just trying to make them realize that you're a legitimate business rather than getting them excited about your product. The final one we're going to go through is a company called Ralcom, which is something to do with communications. When I was going through this website, like critical tower construction, however, it then talks about communication. Then it's personal, business, radios. Do they sell radios? Communication system design. They do vehicle upfitting. Is that for communication? Is it for construction work? Specials followers here. Don't know what that means. Receive the right product for your needs. It's kind of hard to see what they do. And they talk here about white on white is a terrible idea before we get to design. You need the best tower construction team in Western Canada. We get the job done safely, so you have the best service anywhere. So that means they build construction towers. But at the top here, we've got TELUS. Do they work for TELUS? Two-way radios. I'll click on that later. Communication system design. All this stuff, rentals. Like, there's so many options here. I'm confused what they do. So I did a search for the SEO stuff that we, you know, went on the other website. So domain authority scored even lower than RevBit's, 9 out of 100. Organic keywords were 42, so low for a communications website. Like, you've got so much competition in this world. I imagine definitely on the construction side of things as well, but definitely in general communications, you'll have loads of competition. Linking domains was 48, which is awful. Communication tower construction Canada. Let's give them a chance straight off the bat. Okay. So, Wes Tower, Canadian Towers, Trident Towers, TEP Canada, nothing. Nothing. So not on page 1 or page 2 for that one, which seems, if you're as big a deal as you say you are, it's not ranking for this, which is surprising because it's your kind of open statement here. You should just say building tower, which tower, like it's a comms tower, surely. So one thing that I also saw in some of the other services is, let's have a look, business. Let's stick to business. Business mobility, business connect, internet security. Like you're giving me the services. Do I buy these from you then? It's a little bit confusing. Communication system design. Let's try that one. Network construction, tower, path studies. There we go. SCADA. You know, okay, let's just try, just for the hell of it, SCADA. System design, Canada. ControlSoft, Galaxy, ControlSoft, Emerson, Schneider. Nothing on page 1. It's really struggling. I tried a lot of keywords and it's not really getting anywhere. So to fix that, you need to get more information on there that talks to your keywords. You know, make sure we're also creating case studies, you know, write about industry problems instead of just selling. In terms of SEO, it's all over the place. It doesn't really tell Google what this site is for. 100 years of experience and you've got such terrible domain authority. I don't believe it. You know, companies that have been around that long, one of the benefits is that they're a recognized brand name, and I've never heard of Ralcom. And even when I searched Google, like, it's not really a thing. Ralcom, okay. So it shows you locations, TELUS, Ralcom, LinkedIn, 500 followers. For a company of 100 years, you've only got 500 followers. So language comments across the whole website. If you thought the other two sites had generic text, this is blowing you out of the park on how generic this website is. Investing in growing the telecommunication network all around Alberta and BC. So they're an investment company. Tower construction, we build and maintain a vast list of communication. Like, this is so clunky in wording. You could have done this with one sentence, what you've written here. You've got SCADA, all sorts of stuff. There's just a bombardment of services and it's still not clear. You know, like, it's classic, really. You're kind of missing pain points. Like, instead of listing products, you've got a whole list of products and we offer this and we offer that, you know, but really need to talk about what businesses struggle with, you know, and create content for it, or just information on the site, like a Q&A, you know, how we design our communication towers to cope with, say, high wind loading. I saw that was a big problem on the internet. In terms of communication towers, how we overcome, you know, the weight load challenge, you know, with communication towers, the snow and ice challenge in communication tower building, that's very Canadian. You know, there's all sorts of stuff that you could put on there that might give them knowledge that you've got experience because you've been working on this and you've got learnings and case studies and stuff like that. You know, SCADA, for example, you know, that could be quite lucrative, I imagine, but you don't even mention it on the homepage. You've got, mainly, it looks like you're selling some kind of weird tower construction team that you've got available. Is that staff that you give to people? You know, are you building stuff? Two-way radios, like, you just business, personal. Like, there's a lot of information here that's kind of conflicting and confusing to me. You need to be more specific and get people that information. Design comments, it's okay, it's clean. It's just, it feels like a little bit generic. You've got like weird blocks that overlap here. It just looks like a bit thrown together a bit. How to work with us. You know, is that this over here? Call us with your communication needs. Like, you should already know what your customers' needs are. You should be talking to them. You should be saying what your problem solve, because you already work with so many customers. You've seen trends and this is what you're doing. To me, even though the website looks nice, it just screams that you're not experienced and you are selling what you shouldn't be selling, almost. Might not be the truth, but it comes across that way. So, you know, the call to actions are pretty weak, like get connected, as in I want to build a tower. So you go to communication system design, network construction, and you're back on this other page you're on before, like call us now, you know, straight to a form, which is interesting, which isn't calling. So you need to be careful with that stuff there. To put the customer journey first, like, you know, the imagery is really generic. Like, this is a cool image. Like, you've got this, it catches the eye. Just your text is not well contrasting. But you've got personal, like, it's like you're building a communication tower for this person. You know, two-way radios, that green is hideous. The business communication design, it's just purple again. Vehicle bulleting is now green. We've got no social proof, which makes me think you're trying to con me. There's nothing here that tells me that I've got satisfaction here until we get to industry served, and you basically just say how great you are. We've got IT specialists, we've served agriculture, forestry, to oil and gas, to power plants, to manufacturing and engineering, to automotive, and so much more. Ralcom always there to serve, with over 100 years of experience, with a team that's focused on finding the best solution. Like, none of this really tells me what you've served, what clients. You know, it just flags that you've not really worked with anybody. For a company that's got 100 years of experience or history, that doesn't really make sense to me, unless you do that thing where you add up all the people's experience, which is don't like that either. You know, upgrade the visuals, they're okay, but they're a bit generic. You know, video content, none at all on there. You know, and that's an expectation nowadays. You could have something that tells the story of the company at the top, brand message video that really just tells you who you are, what you do, your history, who you've helped, what your experience is. That can get a lot of the way and get rid of a lot of that anxiety that people might have coming onto a website to actually try and navigate it. So final thoughts on all three sites. You know, Senazon, Rev Drillbits, and Ralcom, you know, they all kind of fall into a similar kind of corporate, safe, kind of outdated traps. The language isn't really getting to the point. It's talking about them rather than, you know, the customer's needs and their pain points. And Senazon was the only one that had a bit of customer experience, but it was right at the bottom of the page. It didn't really tell you who they'd work with, etc. You know, it can be difficult sometimes to get approvals. However, all the other sites didn't have anything. And there were some pretty bold statements on, you know, number one, drill bits and stuff like that. 100 years of experience on Ralcom. You know, there's a lot of stuff there that really just doesn't really back up the claims. You know, they need more engaging visuals. You know, you've got exciting industries, you know, oil and gas. There's a lot of mechanics to that. There's, you know, drill bits. There's a lot of stuff there. Construction, there's a lot of cool stuff that you could be showing that gets people excited about the product and demonstrates that you've got experience. So you need more engaging visuals, videos, whatever that might be. And the SEO stuff, Senazon was the best in terms of ranking for some keywords that I searched for. Ralcom was the worst. And then, you know, the drill bits, Revolution drill bits was in the middle there. So there's a few things that you could take from that search, you know, in terms of the keywords that you might want to rank for. You know, but when you're competing against other really big names in all of these industries, you've got to make sure that you're really ranking and paying attention to your domain authority and the keywords and the backlinks and all that sort of stuff. So if you want to sell these really big industrial solutions, you need that kind of big confidence proof and a big presence, you know, to make sure that you're prevalent and going to stand up against the big companies. You know, these sites all feel small, overly corporate and safe, and to be honest, forgettable or confusing. In terms of the navigation and flow of them, it wasn't great. I think people try and make a website do everything they could possibly serve. They try and make it cover everyone, that they make it so generic that it ends up not serving the individual customer very well. So you better try and tailor that a bit more. You know, if you fix these things and work on these a bit more, you'll start to dominate and work on those conversions a bit more, and at least make it so people remember and come to your website a bit more. So this has been fun for me, roasting some websites on YouTube. You know, there's some positives taken there. I didn't want to be too harsh, but really it was a roast to try and help you understand some of the pitfalls that companies make to help you when you're designing some of your websites going forward, and maybe look at yours. You know, you can, a quick feedback, you just get people that aren't used to looking at your website. That's a good way to get people to do that. If you've got a website and want me to roast them, and this has been, you know, a good video for you, just drop in the comments, or if you want, you can email us at info@thumbmuffin.ca. If you like this content, please drop a comment, like and subscribe, and you'll see me in the next roast. Bye.